Well, we're back with Tier 5 of the Doomsday Iceberg. For those of you that have been sticking around, I really appreciate it. For those of you that are new, welcome. If you haven't seen the earlier entries, check those out. I have them in a playlist. It's going to be put somewhere where you can find it. Bit of a disclaimer, if you get freaked out by the idea of the end of the world, I'd recommend watching something else. Preferably something by me. But for those of you who do decide to stick around, thank you so much for watching. Personally, I think it'd be really cool if we get close around like 500 subscribers or so by the end of the summer. So if you aren't subscribed already, it'd be really cool if you did. And maybe share the video so some other people can see it and the channel can grow. That'd be pretty cool. Once again, thank you to Mighty Bull, the creator of the original Iceberg that I'm reading off of. He's been clearing a lot of things up for me, helped me do the research. It's been really helpful, thank you. And with all that said, again, thank you for watching. Now let's talk about how the world can end. Starting off this tier, we have global dimming, and to put it simply, it's when the Earth is not receiving an adequate number of sun rays, thus causing the surface to cool. Funnily enough, this actually has nothing to do with the sun, but it's all related to the Earth. It's also mostly our fault as humans. Since studying for it began back in the 1950s, global dimming has been mostly linked to aerosol usage and sulfate, which occurs naturally from volcanoes, but again, that mixed with our use of aerosol has kind of made the issue a little bit worse. The biggest concern with global dimming, surprisingly, isn't the actual cooling of the Earth though, but how it instead interrupts the water cycle. The good thing is though, scientists have started to see reversals in global dimming trends, so we're doing better with it. It's getting there. Up next we have objects from the Kuiper belt? I'm gonna go with Cooper. That's how you spell it. If you don't know, the Kuiper belt is a large donut-shaped ring of icy objects around our solar system, just outside of Neptune's orbit. I think that description kind of speaks for itself. You know, it's a big piece of space donut ice comes towards the Earth, and we either get the giant asteroid effect or giant ice age. Maybe a combination of the two. But the good thing is we would definitely see that giant donut ice coming towards Earth. And with any luck, we'd get Michael Bay involved and just Armageddon that thing. You know, just send Bruce Willis to it. We'll be fine. The moon getting destroyed, whether it be from self-implosion, meteor, someone blows it up, the lizards are just sick of it, what have you, doesn't matter how, it would just have the same effect as if the moon would leave the orbit. The Earth would slowly begin to drift into the sun, and the water would all just kind of go crazy on the planet. Not a fun time. Up next we have mass long sleep, where everyone on Earth decides to take a good long nap, which is highly unlikely. The most likely causes of everyone wanting to nap are either a widely successful cult, kind of like Jonestown or Heaven's Gate, whatever happened in that M. Night Shyamalan movie with Mark Wahlberg and the plants, a crazy Lovecraftian monster like in Bird Box, we'll put a pin in that one, we're going to come back to it, or something similar to Local 58, which is also having to do with the moon. If the idea of taking a long nap doesn't shock you, then maybe the hypercane will. It's a supposed class of tropical storm that could form if surface sea levels reach around 122 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 50 degrees Celsius, which is around 10-15 higher than ever reported. While it is all hypothetical, this theorized storm would produce winds of upwards around 500 miles per hour, with gusts reaching 600. The central pressure of the storm itself would make it last for days, even weeks, as well as the extremely low pressure causing storm systems the size of North America. Yeah, not just like the United States, but the entire continent of North America. So you could really say this storm would be like Hurricane Katrina times a million. And overall, that would be pretty bad. But wait, it gets worse. Since the hypercane clouds could reach heights of 20 miles in the sky, aka the stratosphere, and it could damage the ozone layer, where essentially the water from the clouds would cause a depletion of the layer and a reduction of ultraviolet rays collected by the Earth, meaning, well, we'd all just have a bad time. I'm not a scientist. Now we can actually lighten up the ride just a little bit, because we can talk about demographic meltdown. The demographic meltdown will essentially be when you take those, core demographics such as race, language, gender, so on, and they just kind of start to break, fuse together, which it would take hundreds of years and most likely won't happen, especially in our lifetime. But it could potentially lead to some kind of world peace, and we can all just get along if you ignore politics, religion, cultural norms, sports fanatics, the console wars, and pineapple going on pizza. It doesn't go on pizza, by the way. The big downside that can come from it is the entirety of the human race evolves to a point mentally and physically where we're asexual, meaning humans are no longer making babies. And if this comes onto the human race before we're able to mitigate it and it just kind of really creeps up on us, we're all going to die out due to mass extinction. So it could be a real children of men situation. Probably wouldn't be. But I don't see this happening, honestly. I mean, let's be real, we all kind of hate each other. Keeping with the positive vibes here, we have assimilating with an alien race. Which doesn't have to be as bad as that sounds, since assimilation would just be humanity integrating with an alien society. Whether it be the little green men from Mars, Borgs from Star Trek, those damn lizard people who live underground in Agartha. It could be good or bad. We could see a future like Futurama or Mass Effect, where we get really cool technology, and that one Discord mod finally gets to live his fantasy of fucking an alien. And massive advancements to our technology and healthcare. Or we could see something like Halo, where we go to war with an alien death cult. Or even worse, The Matrix, where we're batteries or cows or whatever those pod things were for. I don't remember. I was like 5 the last time I saw The Matrix. Either way, alien assimilation could be a good thing. Embrace the alien overlords if they come. Alright, I hope you're good and jolly with all the good stuff, because we're getting right back to the dark with antinatalism, which is the idea that humans need to stop procreating because it is morally wrong. And I don't think the people that preach this see the irony in spouting that nonsense. You may have heard the case about the guy who tried to sue his parents because he didn't ask to be born, and that sums up the idea behind this movement. They believe human life is pointless. We didn't ask to be, and we shouldn't force others to be here in the future. And in this, obviously, if this movement takes off, human population would die off due to us not making any more people. Which, before we move on to the next subject, I just want to talk about how stupid this idea is. I try not to voice my personal opinions on these things, but I feel like this kind of needs to be said. If you don't want to have kids because you just hate kids, don't think you'll ever be able to afford it, you think the world is in a terrible state and don't want to subject them to it, hey, that's your choice, more power to you. You do you. Good for you for coming to that conclusion. But the idea that it's morally wrong to have children because we don't ask to be here and the human life being pointless is just an extremely negative way to see things. You shouldn't see it that way. There may be no grand meaning to life, there may be no glorious afterlife, but the human experience is, it's not about the end goal or an everlasting paradise. The human experience is all about the journey to get to that finish line. It's about what you see and what you do until you get there, and making the best of the experience for yourself and those around you. Not what these nut jobs are preaching. You shouldn't just have this negative mindset. Dewey Cox put it best in his magnum opus: it's a beautiful ride. Enjoy it. Okay, now that I've gotten off my soapbox, Earth changes. It's a term first used by the American psychic Edgar Cayce, who believed the world would go through cataclysmic events, some natural like solar flares, earthquakes, ice caps melting, and so on. If you've ever heard the idea that California will eventually fall off the United States and drift off into the ocean, he was the first guy to come up with that theory. But where it starts to get weird is Cayce believed these changes to Earth would cause the great resurface of Atlantis, as well as other just odd things like the Native Americans' Great Purification, which I couldn't find a lot of information on, UFOs, a golden age of spirituality and world peace, and just weird stuff. Like, the guy talked about a lot of odd stuff. He was also like a self-proclaimed psychic and would do readings back in like the 1800s, so take that as you will. All in all, though, a lot of what he said has been debunked as pseudoscience, hogwash. Psychics have been using what he's been saying for, 200 years to sell books and rocks and just, con people out of their money. And on a personal note, Edgar Cayce was from Hopkinsville, Kentucky, which is about 2 hours away from my hometown. So it's nice to know people from Kentucky were always just this weird. And our last topic for today is Shinriko's Doomsday Prophecy. If you don't know, Shinriko was, or is, I'm not really sure. They kind of changed their name and rebranded themselves after their leader, Shoko Asahara, got arrested for orchestrating the largest bioterror attack in the history of Japan. But yeah, they changed their name to Aleph and renounced the whole doomsday idea and violent practices, but they also spent 23 years in and out of legal battles with the Japanese government trying to get Shoko and the perpetrators of this attack acquitted for, being arrested for the bioterror attack. And they only gave up after Shoko was executed in 2018, so take that, we're no longer violent, as you will. For the sake of argument, we'll say they are still a thing, though. They're a Japanese doomsday cult, most infamous for releasing sarin gas into the Tokyo subway system in 1995. It resulted in the death of 14 people and around 6,200 were injured. They believed in a kind of new age idea blending in philosophies from Buddhism, Christianity, and yoga, along with the writings of Nostradamus, who was he saw into the future, made very broad predictions. Shoko Asahara would then go on to proclaim himself to be Christ and said the world would end in 1997, claiming the US would start World War III, which would quickly end with nuclear Armageddon. He would also claim that only the members of Shinriko would survive due to his divine power. I mean, the guy was real good at twisting the Book of Revelations to fit his prophecy, claiming the United States was the beast from the book. The hellfire was nuclear arms. The guy was great at twisting words. Along with twisting words of the Bible, Shoko also claimed there were dark groups and secret societies plotting against him, including, in the broadest terms possible, the Jews, the Dutch, the British royal family, Freemasons, and every other religion that was practiced in Japan at the time. What the fuck did... Why the Dutch? Like, the Dutch specifically. That's what bothers me with that. Like I said, the cult claims they don't believe this anymore, but they also try to get him acquitted for releasing a bioweapon. I don't believe it. This whole organization in itself is a rabbit hole worth going down, and I encourage you to do some more research into it by yourself if you're interested. I know it seems like I went into some detail, but trust me, I really just hit the wave tops with this. This is like... You could probably make an iceberg in and of itself just about Shinriko. But with all that said, we are now at the end of part 5 of the Doomsday Iceberg. If you liked the video, push the thumb up button and tell me I smell weird in the comments or something to help boost it so more people could see. Subscribe if you're new. That'd be pretty neat. Check out some other things I made. Okay, bye-bye. Love ya.
I don't need a hit from you no more. I got